some stop motion animation, I do say, with legendary Godzilla. So essentially we're going to make him do some charging and running, and that music is way too loud. Fortunately, I'm kind of trying to drown out this furnace that's kicked in, so yeah, I was kind of waiting for that for a few minutes to go, but I was already late as is, so I didn't want to be any later than I already was, so yeah, you're gonna have to deal with a little bit of background noise because obviously I'm not in my natural environment. I'm, well, in the Lego City. As you can see, we got Shimo facing off against Godzilla here, so we'll do a little bit of stop motion today. There's a small amount of setup that I do kind of have to go through here. I was hoping to get that done ahead of time, but unfortunately we had some adventures to do and various other pet activities, so I just didn't exactly have time for that. So we'll basically just kind of speed run through that stuff real briefly and quick here. So before I get too far into the stream, I should also mention that the music in the background is all royalty free, and you will find the links in the post description below. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to smash that like button as hard as a kaiju, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new, and rate the chat and do whatever it is you have to do for the live stream to get boosted and reach more people. So now that all that stuff's out of the way, hi smiles, let's get set up for some stop motion. So there isn't too much I really have to do here. I just gotta have to basically make sure my camera's plugged in, tripod set up, and camera's nice and clean. I'm gonna go for an angle a little bit lower than usual on Godzilla here. Try to change the camera angle slightly so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Just so it gives you that perspective that it's really big and you're staring up from it, you know, up. So we'll do a brief roar and then basically start running forward. And as I go along, I'll kind of explain tips and tricks for the certain animation as I do it. Now, I kind of have to figure out what sort of tripod setup we want to play with. Maybe the little guy in this case, but we'll see. Now the French kicks off. I think I'm just going to start a new video file. I don't really want to watch the same animation over and over and over again. So, yeah, open up your stop motion app and then you just play around with some camera angles to get where you kind of want your desired look. Now, when you're making characters run and move, it's generally a good idea to make sure that it's not necessarily, the legs aren't really visible, just so you can kind of give yourself a lot of break in the actual animation process at that particular juncture in time. I think we actually could probably get away with using the little tripod here. Move my ring light just so I have a better idea of what my actual lighting will be. I think this will be a pretty quick, easy setup here. Yeah, I'm gonna use the little guy. At least try to use the little guy, wherever I put that. Uh-oh. Hi, Mr. Mittens. You coming to join us today? Yeah, you can come down here. You have my supervision. You can't go Catzilla. Godzilla's in the midst of destroying the city. Yes. Hi, baby boy. What you doing? Yeah. Kind of have a chip bag down here now. Hi. Yes, you want to say hello to everyone? Hey, Mr. Mitties. The pesky kitties. Yes, I know, I would zoom in on you, Holly, but you generally have a tendency to avoid me. Oh, I know where I left it. It's in my secret room back there. I'll be back. Okay, so now that I actually have the needed piece of equipment for what's going on. Hello, Jake. Yes, I believe so. There was a couple people tuning in, but they haven't really instated a whole lot. And Mr. Meaties is here today. He came back from his adventures yesterday. He pulled a Houdini last night, so... Yeah, troublemaker. Alright. So, I'm just kind of more or less setting up the camera at this particular moment in time. Shouldn't be too much to set up. And then we're gonna start the animating process. I do kind of have to hit the reset button on Godzilla a little bit here, but not overly. Basically, I just kind of have to take away the glowing eyes, the smoke from his mouth, as well as close his mouth, and then kind of move his arms off to the side to give him more of a relaxed position, essentially. And then animate up into what we want. You just gonna talk the whole time too, buddy? This is your stream now, not mine. Let me tell everybody how your adventure was, Mr. Mittens. Hi! Yeah, you can't be doing that once I start animating, buddy. Can't be bumping lights. Ah, claws. Yes, I know you're there, Hottie Horse. I would try to give you some little bit of viewership, but you generally have a tendency to run away. Make a Doug out of clay. Doug is definitely next on the list, and I do believe I actually probably have enough for a Doug, because he's primarily brown from what I can see. Some people are kind of saying he's got a bit of gray, which I do have a decent amount stocked up on, but it's kind of like a weird tan and brown color for the most part from what I can tell. So yes, a Doug will soon be on the way, I do say. And can you stop clawing my legs, Mr. Mittens? Jesus. Yeah. You can't see, but periodically he's just popping up and kind of going. It's an. Poser. Hold yourself. What? Did you miss the last live stream, so you think you need to be on this one? Oh. I had no idea, Mr. Mitz. Oh. Our arm's kind of gone a little wonky here. Alright. There's a little bit of cleaning up to do on the edge of his mouth here too, just from all the pink little bits in the side, the smoke there, unfortunately, but that won't be too hard to get rid of. I'll just pick the cotton bits out of his mouth. I don't want any smoke for this scene. As minor as a task as that smoke may seem trickling out of their mouths, it's generally quite daunting, unfortunately. All those small little details are honestly probably a lot harder than you would expect, so yeah. Try and get you guys a slightly better view here of what I'm actually currently working on. Fortunately, everything's kind of set up for stop motion, so the stream might be a little wonky in some parts, mainly because camera setup is made for, well, the animation, so consider this just kind of a behind-the-scenes look. You guys get to be essentially the animating supervisor. So yeah, cotton smoke is a lot of work, unfortunately. So a lot of the time it doesn't want to stick to his face sometimes when you want it to, and in this particular time it's really sticking to his face and I don't want it to. And unfortunately it generally does kind of leave a lot of little remnants too, so it's always good to kind of make sure you get rid of that stuff before you get into heavy repairs, because then it's just going to be part of your sculpture. Not that that's really the end of the world. I'm sure all of mine have a little bit of pet hair in them anyway, but try to avoid that. And now Mrs. Fufu is wandering upstairs. Oh yeah, I didn't fix a tooth. I forgot I was supposed to do that too. Ah. Privates, okay. I have another thing to fix. We got a broken denture, unfortunately, that I'm going to have to go through here and glue quick. Luckily, that stuff is really fast drawing. Just might be slightly awkward to get at it, unfortunately, because it's that one. Don't want to poke it because I don't want him to lose it. Okay. I need a rake. All my tools are kind of behind me on this anti-gravity table. So a rake is basically just a clay tool used to scrape things away. Very small layers at a time. And that's kind of all we need to do right now. Let's just kind of get rid of that small pink redness on his cheeks, and then just kind of blend it in with my finger to make it smooth and get rid of all the tool marks. Probably get in there with the rubber sculpting tool too between his lower jaw and upper jaw, just to make sure that that seam is nice and smooth. Hey. This you just kind of need to get that shape back into place. Make sure there's no weird crack. Unfortunately, being a part where there is a joint, it generally does like to crack a little bit. And speaking of that, I kind of have to fix his back arm. So I'm just going to make my life a little bit easier and get that light out of the way. I noticed with the recent arm surgeries, oh, that's awkward. Hi guys. Arm surgeries that he has gone through. It's a little easier to crack them, but I get way more maneuverability. So it's better than them dislocating and popping out as far as I'm concerned. Minor thing to kind of deal with. A little more fuzz in there. Kinda might get to that point where it's good enough. I don't think anyone's really gonna notice that, except for if he has a goatee, make sure he doesn't have any chin hairs. Hey. Now I just need a little bit more plasticine clay essentially shoved in and around my cell phone here, just to make sure that it doesn't do any of that. Although chances are, once Godzilla starts stepping, I'm probably going to jiggle around just a little bit to give it a little bit of added camera shake, but not necessarily a lot. Now, generally, I would really recommend you use black plasticine for this particular moment, because black hides all colors, and while you're doing stop motion, that's another important thing. Make sure you're all wearing black too. You don't want to be wearing bright neon colors while doing this, because that will affect your lighting as well. So usually, I would recommend black only, or dark colors only for here, but I'm currently streaming and most of my other equipment is upstairs, so I don't really have to run up there and make things awkward. This is on hand at the moment. Hey. It's not much, but it definitely makes a big difference. Now, if you have a nice fancy tripod that you don't really want to ruin, it might not be the best idea, in all honesty, to kind of do that. But I care more about the hours and hours of animating that I will do than the tripod. Okay. chin crack up here. Just kind of going over Godzilla really briefly. Making sure that there are no major imperfections that are really going to stick out, because once they're there on screen, you try and fix it. It looks pretty obvious, so. It's good to be fairly methodical when you're at this process. Just getting ready. There's no reset button once that camera starts going, unfortunately. You make a mistake, it is now going to be there. Okay. Now, that reminds me, I have to fix that tooth, so it means I kind of have to open his mouth once again, unfortunately. Can't go grab glue, which is upstairs. Alright. Well, hey. I will be back in 2 shakes. Unfortunately, I have to go grab my crazy glue before I have a bunch of dentist work to do. And I'm back. Now, I don't want to move them. So, this could be interesting. I'm going to take my trusty glue knife and just put a little bit of glue at the end of it and try and sneak up on in there. Just basically reattach that root. Now, if I really have to, I can just get him in a better position. But I just don't want to lose what little ground I have gained so far. Not to mention, this is something that you're probably going to have to get good at from time to time when you're dealing with claymation characters in particular. Because sometimes things will just break on the middle of set, and you're going to be stuck there fixing it, and you're going to have to work around the camera and absolutely everything else, and it's a real test to your sculpting capabilities at that point. Trying to get some underneath that actual tooth too. Okay. Now we just let that be for a few minutes, and I think we should be okay. Might want to throw on some more, but I'll kind of let that stuff dry just a little bit before playing around with it too much more. And I should probably inspect it from the other side to make sure it's actually straight. And we're good. Still a little bit of cotton over here, so. Seeing how I am on this side, I may as well get rid of it. Hello, Claymationzilla. Thanks for tuning in. Just kind of doing a little bit of on-site dental work. Fortunately, I snapped a tooth in my haste yesterday. Main incisor. Normally I probably wouldn't really care if it was one of the smaller ones, because if anything it just kind of gives them a little bit of added detail or character, but when it's literally the big main fang right there, it's going to be pretty noticeable and stick out like a sore thumb. So we're just going to put one more security layer of glue just to be safe. So I don't want that happening again, because once it usually does happen, once it's more than likely going to happen again. This time I'm actually using my more precise knife, but this means I'll actually care and clean this off right after. The other one I don't care as much about. There we are. Okay. So, now that our dental work is out of the way, we should probably let that set just for a little bit. Because if I close his mouth and one tooth happens to touch the other, we then glue his mouth shut, which is no good. What you got there, Claymation? Apologize for the hello key gaming gaming with Adrian. Apologize for the main screw up there. Lost his tooth. Man lost his tooth already. Yeah, it happens. Actually, Shimo broke a tooth even before I finished her, so, which is actually still, I didn't even bother to fix that in all honesty. See if I can get you guys in there between the ring light. Hardly noticeable though. There's like one right in there. If you really pay close attention, you might see it, but yeah. It was kind of just like, alright, this project's basically almost over with. Anyway, so no one's gonna notice. Except for everyone here now. So only you will know. That's okay. So yeah. I think that glue should be just about good at this particular juncture in time. Probably not the greatest, but at least okay. It does dry pretty quick. Still looks a little wet. Darn. So yeah, what we'll be doing here, Gaming with Adams, I'll just give you a quick brief, is kind of doing some actual stop motion this time. Everything's basically set up, except for a few minor details that I kind of forgot, unfortunately. So whilst we're probably waiting for this glue to dry, I can probably give you guys a couple camera settings and options that I generally have set on my phone whilst I'm doing these types of things. So obviously with this smartphone you can have multiple cameras, you can do the wide angle lens, you can use the cameras on the front here, but obviously you're never probably going to really ever use those. I personally don't really like the way the wide angle one looks a lot of the time, so I don't use it that much. But I keep things usually in auto lock focus, so I just usually select on approximately where you want to keep your main focal point, and it kind of just does the adjustment for you. Some people prefer to do manual lock, but I find if your character is moving around on screen like we're going to be dealing with today, that might not be necessarily the best thing to do, because it's going to basically stay focused on that single spot whilst your character is moving out of frame, and things might get a little bit fuzzy at that point, and yeah, you've spent hours and hours doing something for it to not look great is generally not necessarily a whole lot of fun. So, now that we've gone through that, keep your camera settings pretty basic, the best way I can put it. You don't need to do anything too fancy there, more or less, as I close the entire app. As you can see, it's out of focus, so just select it. Now we can see Godzilla's pretty face. And then, I suppose I should probably go through speed settings here. I always keep mine at 2 and 24, so it's at 24 frames per second, and I use 2 pictures per movement. So 2 and 24, obviously we're on the highest quality K that we can get, 4K on this app. Pay a little bit extra for that, but it makes it look a little bit nicer, so it's worth it. Now, I should plug the phone in too, actually. My battery is low. And with this phone, I have things set up so that it basically, once it has power to it, it will never actually shut off, which is a huge bonus for your actual flow of actual animating, if that makes any sense. Because at that point you're not trying to babysit your phone, because if your phone shuts off, it resets, and then focus readjusts and you get some unwanted flicker. Now I'm going to have to sacrifice some flames. One thing you should also do, make sure your cord is tied in somewhere, or at least mushed into something. So I'm kind of doing that off to the side here. Yeah, to just see that. You get the idea though. Basically, it's like an extra little bit of security. So if you end up like bumping or tripping over the wire for whatever reason, it's not going to immediately affect your phone. It's probably just going to break this. It's kind of like a fail-safe, or you can just kind of have it tied off to something. But in this case, we're dealing with playing table, so that's about as secure as unfortunately we can make it. So we're just going to have to be a little bit more careful than usual. Now, one other thing that's really handy that'll go through, because our glue is probably dry at this point, is what's referred to as like the shadow effect. And also having a remote is very handy. So if you say have a headset that you can use to take pictures with, that is great. This phone comes with an S Pen, so that's usually all I use, is just push the button on that and access my remote. Because the more times you have to touch the screen, it might move your phone around, and you don't want that necessarily to happen. So, now that I've gone slightly off track, we will go back to that handy little feature that is very, very nice for stop motion in particular. So, I'm going to have to take a couple frames here just to kind of demonstrate what it'll actually do, so because you guys won't actually see it, neither with the camera or the character. So I'll get things back in focus real quick. And then just take a couple useless shots. Now, it's basically going to create what's called a shadow effect. Oh, it's loud. So, basically, now that you actually have those two pictures, it basically memorizes those, and for your next movement, for say, it's basically going to save those frames that you did and show you however many pictures you want. In this case, I usually only do one. You can do several at a time, or I'll show you different shadow effects. But basically, what that does, hopefully you guys can see this on stream fairly okay, is basically now you can see two parts of his jaw. His jaw was down here, now it's up there, and it basically just gives you a guideline of where everything once was and where to work forward from there. It's honestly a great feature, and I use that a lot. It's, probably a stop motion animator's best friend as far as I'm concerned in that regards. So, I see a couple of other people are joining us in the chat here, so I will momentarily take a short break and see what you guys have to say. And then we'll basically continue with the actual stop motion animation, and you get to see how painstakingly slow I basically am going to move all my characters, so yay. Probably going for about another 3-second scene, maybe 2 seconds, so it's going to be about 50 to 75 frames. Chances are I'm probably going to stretch it to about 100, so we'll see. Hot Dragon, I'm tired again. Kingzilla, hey, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I generally just kind of have later supper now when I'm doing streams. I don't have time for it. I rushed the dog walks and then basically straight on camera and getting everything set up. Hot Dragon Games, thanks for tuning in. Stop motion app, dude. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to mention. Thank you for saying that. I use Stop Motion Studio is the app that I technically use. So, pretty easy. Cheetah Island, thanks for tuning in. Godzilla looks... Demon. Yeah, he kind of does. He looks a little evil, but I don't think he's supposed to be very friendly in retrospect, so... Mission accomplished. Oh, darn. Well, good luck on your test, Cheetah. I see you're still stuck on the Mythbusters thing there, Claymation. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, but you will get your big boom soon. There's no blasting as of just yet. However, the suggestion that you made in one of the earlier live streams is going to be basically happening within a day or two, give it or take. I don't know. It's embarrassing how long it's going to take Godzilla to make it from here to here, and then have Shimo do her thing that you recommended. So you're getting what you asked for. Don't worry. So that's one thing I should probably recommend or mention. If you have any suggestions that you want to see in this movie monster fight, get it in there and see if I can squeeze it in. Unfortunately, this stuff is really difficult and is very time consuming, so I may or may not have, time for everybody's idea, but I generally do like to go off what your suggestions are, because so it happened to the zombie dinosaur. Basically, the kiss of death was mentioned, so off with his head it went.
In an instant, things can transform, slipping out of balance in a free fall.
Claymation Zilla wants big boom. Now you're orchestrating it to yourself, I see. Yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jamie would want the same thing in retrospect. Let's be honest. Who doesn't like explosions? Don't worry, Gaming with Andrian. That's basically the plan here, because I know there's a lot of people that are kind of like big fans of both of these monsters. So in this case, I'm not really going to all out destroy it. It's going to be kind of like at the end of this scrap, I'll put it this way. It'll be like Godzilla King of the Monsters, where basically all the other monsters are showing up and giving respect to him, so to speak. So that's the best way I'll put it. She's gonna lose by the looks of things from what I can see in the polls, but yeah, she won't be completely destroyed. There'll be no kiss of death in that matter, because I literally just spent 2 months making both these characters, and now I'm basically having them kind of destroy each other, for lack of a better description. Ooh, a Mutos. That's only been suggested a few times. I think that's only got like 3 or 4 points in total, so yeah, I think you're one of the few people that have actually made that suggestion so far. So yeah, I'll definitely add that to the Muto. I would love to do that one, for sure, but yeah, it's a slightly more niche character at this point and kind of old. Although that being said, Godzilla fans generally do like things that are pretty old in retrospect anyway, because we're generally Suitmation fans. So, one more question, and then I'll probably start playing around with stop motion stuff after I blow my nose. Zintyke. How do you send it to YouTube? I'm talking Stop Motion Studio because it doesn't let me send it to YouTube. Oh, okay. Basically, most of my stop motion animation isn't actually edited in. That sounded weird. Edited in the app, the stop motion app. It's used by different third-party apps. Usually there is a little bit of that kind of stuff going on, but it's never anything usually major to describe it. So in your case, basically what I would do is you have to save the video, so export the video to your gallery, and then you can basically just play from it from there. You can either upload it to YouTube directly from your gallery, as long as YouTube has access to that, and or I know InShorts, the one that I use for all my editing software stuff afterwards, is capable of just directly uploading it onto YouTube. But I'm usually one of those people that kind of post-review my videos 3 or 4 times before posting it, just for any mistake, and it kind of sucks, because honestly that's one of the worst things about editing or YouTubing, in my opinion, is sitting there having to watch yourself on repeat over and over and over again. But that kind of comes with the name of the game, and I've gotten used to it over the years, obviously. But if I were to have any sort of big nitpick or complain, that part kind of sucks. So hopefully that helps you out. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you're gonna have to, as far as I know, with this app, you're going to basically have to export the video from the actual stop motion app. You won't be able to directly upload it to YouTube on that app. Some can, most won't, so just save it to your gallery. It's better off that way, so that way you essentially have 2 copies of something you've spent a lot of time and effort on. Okay. Do you want Big Boom? Oh yes, I do want Big Boom. I have plans for Big Boom, but we can't do Big Boom yet. That's too soon for Big Boom. You have to time these Big Booms. You have to keep people waiting. You know what I mean? You get to build suspense. There's no defense against his cockroachy pretense. Let's go. Oh, it's okay, Billy. Oh, it's okay. I shouldn't do that because I might get copyright claimed. Epic Rap Battles of History. Check them out. They do some pretty good stuff. Okay. So our glue is probably now all set. So we don't have to worry about gluing our mouth together at this point. I'm just going to kind of double check my nostrils and pick them off your nose real quick. Because those generally are a slightly sensitive part on Godzilla's face. And then we will start the actual animating process. Now, one thing I kind of probably should do before I get too carried away as well, make sure my lighting is going to be actually all secured, and also get rid of my extra photos here demonstrating what the shadow effect does, because that's probably going to be the only time you're actually going to see it effectively, because in retrospect, it's, yeah. The amount that my characters actually move is probably almost only 1 millimeter or 2 at most, unless you're talking about, like, say, one of them throwing a punch or a fist. Then things move significantly faster, obviously, usually starting at about, you know, your slow movements, then it goes to a 1/4 inch, then just progressively gets faster as time goes along. But usually it's really slow. So, just gotta make sure that my lights are nice and secure by sticking a little bit of plasticine clay around them. My camera's already in good position, so now it's just you guys have to find what to do with. I'll admit, this is probably, might not be, yeah. Still learning how to stream and do stop motion at the same time, so things could be slightly janky at times, and I do apologize for that, but again, grand scheme of things, it's for the animation. Okay. Feeling really stuffed up, of course, halfway through the stream. And I don't have a Kleenex box within the vicinity. But show must go on. Okay. Our lights are pretty secure. Just going to double check my angle and look of everything. Not necessarily satisfied with how that is. Okay. I think we are good to go now. I think. I don't know if I have any extra security clay. I would like to add just a little bit more along that bottom half to fill that gap in, but whoops. Luckily, there's a bunch of pink stuff here. No problem, Claymation, or, yeah, you're not Claymation Zilla. Kingzilla. Happy to help. If you have any other further questions, let me know. Well, sweet dreams, Mr. Hot Dragon Game Life. Glad you could tune in for at least a little bit. I understand kind of had a slightly later stream than usual, but I wanted to make sure I had enough time to get some adventures in there with Holly. Hello, Mr. Mittens, you are back? Yeah. You're really annoying. You got really vocal after your little Houdini act last few days. Yeah, I'm glad you're home, but you're kind of very talkative all of a sudden. If you were Clay, would you... I mean, if you were Clay, you basically, you kind of would be almost invincible to a certain degree. I mean, as long as nothing like major happened, you could theoretically repair yourself. And fun fact, there is a mini Clay version of me at the end of pretty much every video. I don't know if you guys anyone's really caught on that. There's been a few people that I've met in real life that have kind of figured that out. Like, is that you? I'm like, maybe. Hi, Mittens. Columbus, Ohio. Well, that's pretty cool. It's not too late where I'm from. It's about 9:14 p.m. I'm Canadian, eh? You can probably tell by the hat. If you've never heard of the Royal Trail Museum, I do have some videos on that place. It's a really cool dinosaur museum. I definitely enjoyed that. And we'll probably be making another trip up there this year, and we'll be doing some live streaming of the actual museum and probably doing a lot of hiking trips. So I'm going to see if I can sneak out, have my dogs there, and probably just stay in a bed and breakfast. I don't know if I'll do a camping thing again, but we'll see. Yeah, kind of want to bring you this time, Sweet Pea. Hello. Maybe I can get her. There she is. And there's the other one. You can see off camera. There's always something happening. I'm a very busy man. I don't have any free time or hands ever. It belongs to somebody at some point, right, Mr. Mittens and Holly Girl? Okay. Now that we've had our furry interruptions, let's try and get some stop motion done here. Okay, Mr. Mitties. Yes, I know. It's not my fault you ran away. I'm not making up for the 2 days that you were gone. I'm not gonna pet you the whole time. It's not how it works, buddy. Okay. Lucky you're cute, buddy. Pesky. Okay, now I think... Hopefully this isn't a terrible angle for you guys. You might get the back of my head more than I would like, but... yeah. We'll just proceed. Hopefully things work out okay. I'm thinking about things too much. So, first couple frames are always nice and easy. Basically, small adjustment there, a little more light on Godzilla. You don't actually have to do anything. Okay, quit clawing. No, go. Go away. You're constantly clawing my lap and I don't appreciate it. Trying to think of what I want him to do. I might another suggestion, this might be slightly embarrassing, but it usually is kind of helpful to almost act out what you kind of want to see happen in your animation. So if you see me doing some weird poses and stuff like that, it's basically because I'm trying to figure out what I'm more or less doing, if that makes any sense, like what kind of movements I'm doing, and then I could kind of correlate that to the movements on Godzilla. Every now and then too, especially if I get time to get into the walking part of this animation, I might just start pacing around the room a little bit because I'm trying to figure out my steps and basically studying how I'm moving. Yes, Mr. Mittens, not helpful. You might come into play when I'm doing Shimo, but right now you're not helpful. You don't walk on two legs, buddy. Okay, so I'm gonna have him basically kind of do a inhale, roar out, and then charge in. So we're gonna basically just have his arms move in, wrist curl in slightly, in up, probably move his chest just up a little bit with his head slightly moving back, and then out. And the out part's gonna be really quick. Kingzilla, thank you so much. Awesome. Well, keep me posted on when you let that actually out on YouTube here. I'll try my best to view it here. Probably won't be necessarily on this account. I kind of have multiple accounts. I'm usually viewing. Oh, Godzilla's gone down. We got 58%. But yeah, usually I view things on a different platform, not necessarily the Moose Motion one. I'm usually like here just kind of for the creation. Sometimes I poke my head around there, so not very often, but yeah, keep me posted. The noise is kind of bad. Not sure if you're referring to the stream sound quality. Hopefully it's okay. I could probably pull my mic a little bit closer. It is a little bit far away. Or if you're talking about your animation. But to answer your your question, Gaming with Adrian, what am I thinking about making next? A Titanus Doug. So I'm just gonna pull this slightly closer. Mic test 1 2. Mic test 1 2. It's probably much louder for you. Yeah. My mic's literally just attached to a chair right now. So it's like, how am I supposed to set up? This isn't really made for streaming down here, but fake it till we make it. Okay. So we've only gotten a couple frames done so far. So what we're going to do now is proceed with the animating part. So this is where our shadow effect really comes into play. And as you can see, I've only just barely moved his arms there. Now it's also important to note when you're doing any sort of animations, in retrospect, don't do anything drastically important in the first 4 frames because it's not going to register to the person. They'll see it, but it's not going, like, you know, it's kind of a weird statistic, I don't know, but basically, first 4 frames, kind of don't make them throw away, but just have more or less of a build-up to what you actually want to happen, because otherwise it's just going to be like a bang, 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 and people are going to be like, what's happening? Take your time. That's the best way I can kind of put it. I mean, it's stop motion. You don't really have any choice but to take your time, but you get it. So yeah, you can probably see that there. He has not moved a whole lot, just a couple mils. And then we're basically going to do that probably the course of 20 to 15 frames of him just going in, out, and then running forward. Doug, oh no! Yes, Doug. Done a lot of fan research too on Mr. Titanus Doug, and it seems like there's a couple of entertaining animations out there. And generally, he's seen as a very, very OP character, so I can't help but feel like I need to do the same. Titanus Doug is just going to be kind of like Kung Fu Panda, I think is probably the best way to put it. Maybe not nearly as, yeah, maybe more graceful, but still kind of goofy in retrospect. Yeah. Oh. And then what? Yeah. Ugh. Claws. Yes, Team Doug. Titanus Doug. Probably one of the least amount of screen time monsters ever given, and has one of the biggest fan bases that I can tell from the very limited time that he's had on there. It's kind of crazy. In Godzilla vs. Kong, I believe he was on there for a total of literally like 4 seconds. Just people went crazy apparently. I think in Godzilla X Kong, he's now there for a total of 12 seconds, and there's some speculation that that Doug that he was hanging out with in the cave is actually his pet, which is actually kind of a cool concept, which I might have to do a little bit more research on when I start making my Titanus Doug. Uh-oh. I think we have some unwanted movements there. Yeah, that one spike kind of janks. Hard for you guys to probably kind of see, but this other... you can kind of vaguely see it. But this other trick that this camera, or that shadow setting is really nice for, you have that little bar off to the side to adjust how much of it you can actually see, is it lets you know where your imperfections are and what things move that maybe shouldn't have moved. In this case, we have a spike on the neck that is kind of got a little bit too floppy. So we just kind of need to readjust that so it doesn't look like something is moving that's not supposed to. Just like so. And then just proceed as normal. But yeah, that you can have multiple photos to set at once. You can go by 5s, 4s, 3s, so you get multiple shadow effects. But personally, I like to keep things simple and clean and only just do in singles. Because realistically, my opinion, it's the last frame that's the most important 9 times out of 10. I think this is maybe a slightly better angle, probably not by a long shot, but I'll just go further back. Don't think people seem to be liking the view of me, the back of my head very much, which I get, but unfortunately I'm not sure where else I can put you people. Anyway, yeah. Gazing off into the distance, trying to figure out camera angles. I wish I had a really fancy boom arm for my streaming assemblies. It's the best way I can put it. Okay, Godzilla X Kong is what you titled it. I meant to say something else. That's okay. I'm used to people spamming Doug. Team Doug. Doug. Oh, the snake creature from GXK. I think you're talking about like the war bat. I know what you're talking about. It's like that large snake with wings. I think it's a war bat. Sure, there's gonna be someone either in the comment section after this video is posted or here that can correct me on that. Let me know. Think it? Yeah, but I know what I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. I mean, one thing you could probably do too is post a link in the chat here. I could see if I could check that out too in retrospect. Hopefully it doesn't make me leave the stream or anything like that. Might have to just kind of open a new tab and type that in that way too. That would work. But we'll squeeze in a few more bits of animation. Maybe we can get a little bit of the roar done here before stream ends. Move down, move in, move in. The music has stopped. Uh-oh. Realizing I forgot to move the flames in the background, but that's okay, you can barely see them in this angle anyway. Okay. I have about 12 frames now. So that's about as much movement as we've accomplished so far. Probably a little harder for you guys to see, obviously, from the tablet, but just about half a second of animation there. We'll go for one more motion in. Tuck his jaw in a little bit just to give it that infamous. I think he's kind of sucking in air, getting ready to blow a whole bunch out for a big roar. We're not really going to do a big roar, we already kind of did that once. It's just going to be a small roar in Godzilla spec case, or as far as Godzilla roars are concerned, this might be a shorter one. It'll probably be about 3 or 5 seconds, if that. Oop, nope. I know one spike hook because he's kind of growing the whole time, but that's because of the way the neck moves. I can't do anything about that. Oh well. The snake that Kong kills. Ah. Snake Kong kills an 8. I'll admit, I literally just watched like Kong Skull Island last night, so I'm struggling going, octopus? I remember him eating that, but it's not the same movie. I'll do some research on YouTube here. I'm sure after the stream here, punch in Kong eating snake, it's gonna pop up pretty quickly. Oh, it's the one with the head. Yes, I think that is a war bat. The long green snake thing that has like the weird sails on the side of its head, for lack of a better description. But yeah, he like grabs it and treats it like a bat, I think. I don't know. I've been going on a big Godzilla binge, so it's kind of, yeah. A lot of inspiration going through my head at this particular moment. Skull Island, though, was really cool. I love that movie. Definitely, probably far more violent than any of the other MonsterVerse films, I think is a good way to put that one. A lot of cool stuff happens, though. Definitely one of those incidences where the monsters are more or less actual monsters, I think is the best way to put it. What I want to actually do here is maybe squeeze in a blink before the actual roar starts happening. So to make your characters blink is actually pretty easy. And it's something that probably a lot of people don't necessarily maybe notice in retrospect, but kind of helps sell that effect that it's, you know, alive. So you just need a tiny, tiny little bit of plasticine clay. Just kind of act as a eyelid and just slightly cover your eye. It doesn't need to be perfectly placed on there because it's literally just going to be on there for a split second. Just as long as it's basically covering up the entire orifice and you don't have any little bits of eye edge like that, like say sticking out through the side. That's what you don't want. As long as it's covered, that's the main thing. In this guy's case, it's a little difficult to remove because he's got such a big, thick brow. In some cases, you're going to want the knife and just slowly pick it out. But, yeah. That's how you make things blink. Just real quick. And now we're going to try and start making things just a little bit faster and make him roar. So now, everything's basically going to come out and forward now. Uh-oh. Means I've been going for an hour now. We'll stretch things just a little bit longer to get you guys a bit more content on some fast moving stop motion. Sounds like I'm gonna have to tend to my little pug soon, because yeah, she's kind of wandering around upstairs. So you can see we've gone from probably, well, a little hard for you to see, but we've gone from millimeters of movement to maybe a whole quarter inch there. That's about it. So a little bit more, but not a whole lot. Well, thanks for tuning in, Kingzilla. Sticking around to the very end. I'll probably go grab food just so we can do a little outro with the pug. Because everyone seems to love Foo, I noticed, and it's been a while since she's been on a stream. But she's usually not really allowed near me when I'm doing stop motion. I know that sounds a little mean, but I've had an incident where she walked into a pair of lights and then just completely ruined a 336 frame scene. Now, obviously, I was quite upset, but I can't get upset at the dog because she doesn't know what I'm doing. She doesn't care, but I just remember going, no, and just freaking out. And to avoid that situation for my own mental health, she's just kind of like, okay, you can kind of hang out on the sidelines, but you're not really allowed in the direct area of stop motion anymore. 8 hours, flush. So I'm also going to have his hands break out just a little bit, give him that claw kind of intimidating look. So you just want to slowly unfold those, basically. Within reason. At this point, we're still probably moving things about 1/8 of an inch to 4 millimeters. So still not a lot, but a lot compared to our previous motions. And then usually, when you're shifting gears and doing one direct motion to another, it's good to kind of go through your frames like what you see me doing here, where I'm literally just kind of picking manually how things are kind of moving out, just because it's a little faster that way and it's easier to kind of make adjustments on the fly. Now, of course, everyone has their own way of doing things, but this is just how I've kind of adapted doing complicated things over the years. I'm going to pick up the pace just a little bit now. Trying to find a safe spot. Now this Godzilla doesn't really have a whole lot of those, unfortunately. So now I'm kind of making him lean into it a little bit more too, which is slightly difficult because our one leg is not being fully cooperative here and going on at a weird angle, so it looks like he's falling. Now we adjusted him too far up. Now we need to bring him back down. Or maybe we'll just kind of roll with it. I think we might just kind of roll with it. Or maybe not, if I can help it. So yeah, this is one of those moments where the shadow and just kind of picking through frame by frame, making sure everything's going to be as smooth as possible. There we go. So yeah, just a matter of basically now doing the same thing again and again, maybe a little bit more each time to give you that steady progression essentially. Now when you're doing the fingers too, it's important to make sure that they open to kind of gather at the similar rate. You don't have ones that are kind of moving around at a weird off-pace timing. They all theoretically should be moving kind of in similar fashions, but not always the case. Now, unfortunately, our jaw is becoming slightly damaged here, so we have to just slightly fix things and be very careful on where you basically place everything at this point, because he's on camera, and if you screw up majorly, you're gonna have to hit the reset button. So that means all of what I've done basically is in the trash, but we're good. So just very, very lightly get rid of that crack on his mouth and blend things in, and using your hand to kind of just wipe away the rubber tool marks, making it look like nothing happened. Roar, 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 roar. Now normally I would probably have a sound bit that I work with. That's another good suggestion. I already do have the roar kind of picked out for this scene, but yeah, streaming, so I can't exactly, unfortunately, grab that sound clip right now. So what I usually do is just kind of hit the record button for the sound and do a temporary sound recording of what sound I'll be using, just so I can animate along with it, to make sure that basically my movements match the sounds the best way they can. You don't necessarily need to do that, but I personally just find it makes things work and flow much better at that point. Okay, so now we have 1 second of stop motion. I think that's actually a record, but this is a pretty simple scene in retrospect. Usually when things get really complicated for me, it takes up to an hour per second, but yeah, we're making pretty good timing on this one, so that's what 1 second looks like. I'll bring you guys just a little bit closer so you can kind of get a better example of what's going on. But yeah, here's 1 second. And that took about 30 minutes, I think. That's it. That's all I get. So yeah, that concludes basically my first live tutorial on how to do stop motion animation with Godzilla. So, I'm gonna go grab my pug, my sweet little puggy girl. So if you have any suggestions for the upcoming animation, I just kind of want to take a quick brief look at the poll. A little closer today. Godzilla's not faring as well as I thought, I do say. So, yeah, now's a good time to cram in your, well, suggestions for any dinosaurs, movie monsters you want to see, animations ideas, and various other things. But yeah, I will go grab the animal. The Miss Lady Foo-Foo. No, you gotta stay away from the lights, Holly. The pug. Yes. Everyone's favorite smelly creature. Oh, Holly, hello, yes. She's very excited. Hey. Yeah. Hi, Holly. Yeah, Foo-Foo is now here. So yeah, she is my pug. The one that is good at killing stop motion animation. I know, yes, you want attention too, but you don't fit in my lap. You're too big. You're like 100 pounds of German Shepherd. That's just not gonna work. Yeah, okay, your tail is whacking everything. Can you go lay down, sweetie? Please. Go lay down. I know. Go lay down. Go lay down. Don't make me be strict. Yes, the pug. Holly, no, go lay down, honey. There's not enough room for you here. You're just kind of being jealous because food's in my lap. Snot rockets. All over my cell phone. Great. Yay. Thanks, Foo. Make sure it's nice and clean, hey? Ah, your breath is terrible. Oh. Yeah, okay. Ooh. So, I will probably be live again tomorrow, I think. We'll see. Either way, I should probably mention there will be a video out either way. A supercut of Godzilla, basically. The legendary Godzilla build will be out tomorrow. So be sure to have your post notifications on for that, so you can basically binge the entire process of, well, this character basically being made, who is now in the current process of being brought to life through animation. So, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to smash that like button, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and, well, perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. So, yeah. I may or may not be live tomorrow. Hopefully I will be. We'll see. Gonna have to try and think about different camera angles in the meantime. I might play around with that a little bit here, so things might be a little bit smoother, I'm hoping, next time. Unfortunately, the basement is definitely not set up for streaming nearly as much as my normal studio, but we'll get there. Yes, this one should be pretty interesting. I'll probably have a couple trailers, teasers kind of coming out in the next little bit here and there too. So you'll have that to look forward to, but there probably won't be anything for at least another week or two before we start kind of getting any sneak peeks or trailers. But I also reached the 4K mark, so there will be an entire tour of basically the entire stop motion setup. There's another set back here, there's another set behind the green screen. You get the entire Lego one, and there's also a development part of the Lego City that will be coming soon as well. And the art studio, all my characters, and all that jazz. So yeah, there's lots of things basically still coming up very soon, but it's, yeah, currently animation a lot, so yeah. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy. Thanks for watching, guys.